Kia ora everyone, welcome back to what should be the final part of this colouring page. We have been working in Country Kitchen Charm by Teresa Goodridge, a Creative Haven colouring book, and we've been working on this potted herbs page. And I love how it's turned out so far, and now all we have left to do is to colour in the window and do some Posca details. So that's what we're going to get done today and hopefully finish off the page. Now with windows and a big empty expanse like this, can be quite difficult to do with water-based markers, which is what we have been using, a mixture of Crayola Supertips and some random brush markers that I have. So there are a couple of ways we could approach this. We could follow the lines that Teresa has drawn on here to indicate the reflections on the window. And we could just use one color and do that following those lines, and that will make the streakiness look like light reflex or the light of the glass, especially if when we go over these lines with white. So that is one technique we could use. However, what I prefer to do and what I will be doing is I'm actually going to create a illusion of a landscape outside. So we're going to do a bit of a green to blue blend. You can see my range here, and I've got, we don't need the craft knife there, cutting down some boxes. We're gonna work with a range of pens which I've got laid out here, and this is the order that we are using to hopefully create this illusion of basically bush, grass, sky is what we're going to create the illusion of. So I'm going to start with our bushes down the bottom. So I'm kind of imagining these like couple trees or hedges directly outside, and then there's some grass in the middle, and then we'll go up to the sky. So for our bushes, we want to focus more on these bright greens, and then our mid greens is for the grass, and then obviously the blues are for our sky. And trying to think in terms of free. So the final free bush, the middle free grass, and the first free sky. I should leave that out. So for our bush, I'm kind of imagining up to about these orange plants pots for the bush, like that's sort of where the hedge is going to end. So just to help visualize it, because of course we have no guidelines or anything, and I'm working with my darkest color, and I'm going to start in the corner here and just work it in. So I'm coloring in little circles essentially. It's almost like pointillism but bigger. And we want these more dense down the bottom. In fact, in some areas I'm just going to color it solid, especially like behind the pears where we want to make sure we've got that differentiation between the green of the pears and the green of the bush. So underneath should be quite a bit dark, and by the time we get up here there shouldn't really be too many, so we'll just do some light pointillism up there just so I know we're getting to that point. I'm also going to use this dark green to cover that orange overlap, and you can do it being perfectly straight, or you can have some areas that raise up and raise down. It's up to you. We're just creating sort of like a texture of the different colored leaves. Just try and keep your pattern random. If it looks perfectly even all around, it's gonna look too perfect. You don't want it looking perfect. Alright, we're going to take our apple green. We use this colour a lot when we were doing the leaves. We're going to start working this in as well. Making sure we've really got the bottom third should basically be solid at this point, so I hope the mic didn't pick that up. That was my stomach churning. Just had dinner. Wasn't a bad dinner. Wasn't anything too fancy, just some chicken stir fry, but you know, sometimes food is just for doing what you need, filling the nutritional gaps. Wasn't the most exciting dinner, but it was tasty and it filled the spot. Most importantly, it was quick. Do have to go out and do the dishes later on though. Alright, I'm just going to dense up around the bottom here a bit more just because it's looking quite even and that's not what we want. Dense up down here a little bit. I'm almost just scribbling at this point. You still want a little bit of a gap, but we want it a bit more dense than that. But you can see I haven't really gone even for the top of my bush. It's like some areas it's growing up more and some areas a bit lower. Alright, now we take our very bright yellow green and we can just fill in the rest of down here. And up here to fill it, I'm just going to flick for now. We're going to carry on with this colour, but I want to get this bush section first done. I'm going to flick that colour up. I'm just going to colour in that tonal area of the parsley too, just so I don't forget it. There's like our initial bush that was directly in front. I'm going to go back to that darker colour and just really redarken up areas too that I feel like need that contrast. We can add in more dots. You can just basically keep playing until you're happy with the density of your bush. Alright, we'll give that a moment to dry. We can always come back and add some more. I might build up in that corner a bit more later on, but we can come back to that. So now we'll go to our grass colours, which is that bright green again, the mint that we used on the curtains, and then a lighter blue mint. And this is also our transition to help with the sky. So we'll start with our mint because we have got a little bit of that green yellow down already. And I'm going to start colouring. I'm going to aim for just above these pots here, the grass, I reckon. And so I'm going to work in little strokes like it is grass texture, the little vertical strokes. Now, honestly, the grass here, you wouldn't be seeing individual blades of grass when it's this far away. But this will just help with the illusion. And again, we are working with a pen that tends to go streaky. So since we're aware that it goes streaky, we're going to use that to our advantage. So by doing the vertical, you're more likely to read it as grass than, oh, that's clearly where the pen went streaky. And while the streaks that I did at the beginning were about half a centimetre, I don't know inches, sorry, but half a centimetre, when I get to back further, I'm really only trying to do them like very, very small. And if it's even easier to do, you can literally just stipple across. Just make sure you get all the area you can. If you've missed a little bit and you've got little areas of white, it's not the end of the world. Alright, I think we'll do one more row of the mint and then that'll leave room for us to transition to the blue. Before we transition to the blue, I'm going to go back to our bright green. So I'm going to use the fact that we've got these dots here to my advantage because it means I can start at a certain point and flick it up to help blend in, and it's just going to look like more bush texture. And then I'm going to take the mint and rework that down into it just to help to create that gradient. So you can't quite clearly see where the bush ends and we fade into the grass. And now we'll go back over sections of our mint. Again, working in small vertical strokes. If because this is a mint and our rosemary bush is kind of like a pale mint colour, you can kind of just colour a little bit over the bush and it just helps fill in any gaps I might have missed on the rosemary. Alright. Sorry, losing my voice again. So coming in with our blue. And you'll see here that the transition is quite harsh between the two. I'm just going to start bringing that down a bit. And then when we just finished off that second layer of mint, we'll keep working that up and bring the two together. Now, if you don't want to muck around or doing a transition, you could have the transition happen behind the pots. You don't really have to worry about it at all. Behind the shelf, sorry, not the pots. But yeah, you could have the actual transition happen up there and then it's not as, like, noticeable. I just went way too long with those streaks there. I did not bring the baby mint down. Okay, we'll make it work. Right. Now we're up to our sky. So for our sky, we're going to start up the top and we're going to bring this down to meet. Yeah, that's right. The cats don't go on the end. Oh, I'm going to find this one a bit easier to do this way because we're going to now work vertically. And it's almost the same technique as the bush where we're going to stipple our colours together. But instead of doing dots, we're going to be doing more like little lines like this to represent almost that cloud texture, like not dense solid white clouds, but just those little floaty clouds in the sky where you get lots of almost bubbly texture. And we're doing that because it's going to be the easiest effect to pull off with the pens. Now the tip on this one is absolutely awful. So we're going to make sure about a third of this we have this darker blue. A bit heavy in the corner there, but oh well, done now. Just match it over side. Maybe it's the shadow of the curtain. Make it appear like there's a little bit more of a shadow there. And just a couple down here, just sporadically placed. You can always add in more. Right, and then we take our brighter blue. We're going to work a layer over this whole thing. And then we're going to add our little cloud stipples on top once we've done our first pass. So working with the side and trying to keep it flat and smooth, but follow that horizontal line that we've been creating with the darker blue. Now, while you're looking at this, you may be thinking, it's quite bright, and all our things in front are also quite bright, and it makes it look not as it doesn't it's on the same sort of saturation as the things in front. And you'd be correct, it is, because a lot of the water soluble markers do have colors of similar saturation, so it is quite bright. Now, one thing you can do is you can actually pull out a white colored pencil, and once you've finished coloring in the background, you can also work with that white pencil and add a layer of that, and it will dull down and pastelize what you've put down. I quite like doing that technique sometimes. I'll see how my hands feel, and if I decide I want to do it here. So when we get to about where the patterns of the pots are, I'm just going to spot to doing the lines, and that's where we'll bring our mint up to. And I'm going to focus on making sure if there's any dark blue in that area, I've worked over it with this brighter blue. I think this bright blue might be running a little low. I think I've used it a little bit lately. Okay. And we'll take our mint and same thing. Work it vertically and just bring it up. Horizontally, not vertically. Okay. So now we're going to work on blending this texture in a bit more, and that just involves doing another pass with our blue and just extending out the marks that we made. And we'll bring a couple more into the mint as well. Nearly there. Nearly there. Okay, just going to take that pale mint and just bring it in a bit more around here. Make it look a little bit less like streaky pen and more that it matches the texture of what we put down previously, and I'm going to bring it up a little bit up here too to help with the blending. I'm also going to just do an extra layer under here just to clean up that edge, but also make that come together. Right, one more pass working circular to try and blend this out a bit. I may need to pull out another color because this pen is actually dying and that's making this a little bit more difficult, so I may need to find another color, see if I can do this, because we're not getting enough ink to do the difference of what I want. So I need something in between those two. Not bad, it's a bit dark. Oh. Oh. The rest of those are all quite dark. Right. Yeah, you're way light. Good. Just me knocking things off my desk. It is still full of stuff. Well, that's not bad. That's pretty close to what we're already using. I think we'll work with that. It's not exact, but it's fairly close in colour. Which means I should be able to use it to... There we go. Now you're starting to blend out. Thank you. Like, why am I getting no colour coming out from this? There's still ink in there. It's just not intense enough to do what I need to do. It's not juicy enough to help with the blend out, so... Getting rid of any sort of harsh edges. Filling in any gaps we might have missed, and just creating a beautiful, slightly textured cloud sky. There we go. So it's given us the illusion of a world outside. So now we can just go in and assess if there's anywhere that we want to deepen, anything we want to add to. So I'm going to go back into our bush down the bottom. And I think I will pull out a white pencil and I'll show you what you can do to make it a little bit more window-like if you want to lose the brightness. I quite like the brightness and I would normally just leave the brightness as is. But I think that contrast of lightening it a little bit. I won't colour in the full window pane because my hands will not forgive me for that. But we can also just go around the edges. I'll show you that. Once I get this. Okay, so let me quickly grab a white pencil. Which brand should we use? Cool, you're on top. We'll use you. So grab the Faber-Castell Black Edition pencils. That's what we're going to use. Let me just quickly check that this white is actually going to be... yeah. You can see that. That's good. That's what we want. We do want a little bit of opacity. Alright, so as I said, you can sit here and add a layer over the top to give to pale it back down if you want to lose some of the vibrancy, so you get the contrast between the inside and the outside. I can't necessarily be bothered doing that, so instead one thing that you can do, that up here because it's a bit simpler up here, and we may need to sharpen our pencil slightly, maybe in a different sharpener because that one doesn't like it. Oh gosh, my hands won't even open the sharpener. There we go. So you can start, you can wait until the page is actually dry. That will help. Let's try over here, it's a bit drier. Cool. You can take your white pencil and you can just add quite a solid thick line and then just fade it out slightly. And it's like the edge of the window. It shouldn't really be on the shelf there, luckily it's okay. You just really want to follow the edge of the window frame. And then especially when we go over these sections with a white Posca. You can also use a white Posca to sharpen these highlights too. I like to do a little bit with a white pencil first. Not too damp, good, good. And obviously the darker the colour is, the more the contrast will seem. Can do a bit around the highlight area as well. Again, we'll sharpen up when we do our Posca. I'll show in a moment, or whatever paint pen that you choose to use. I just happen to have Poscas, so that's what I'm using. You're still slightly damp, I think. So it's just a small touch, but it does help create, especially like down here it's a bit darker. Some of these areas are a bit pale for it to be as effective, but if you've got like a really, oh, hit the camera, that's always good. If you've got a really dark saturated area and you want to have that distinction, I find that quite a good little technique. Right, Posca time. So I pulled out the white Poscas because I know we're going to be using a little bit of them. And we'll figure out the other colours. One of these is fuller than the other. This one. So since we were just doing the windows, we'll go over those lines. Make them white. Again, you do not have to use Posca, any paint pen, gouache or acrylic paint if you want to paint them out. Or you can just leave them. Nothing wrong with just leaving them. I just like the look when they're actually white. I feel like it adds to the shiny glass effect. Sometimes I add in more as well. As I said, you can also go around the edges and create like a sharper highlight. So similar to that. Trying to work and not smudge what I've just done. And so sometimes when I put Posca down, I need it like ends too abruptly. I'll go back in and add another dot and then use my finger to almost spread it across. Just so it's not such a like harsh stop. Okay. And then we've got our fruit. So we coloured the pear to go over Teresa's highlight that she's drawn in. So I'm just going to go over those and add in one to the pear that didn't have one. We've got our little grapes that we're just going to do some dot highlights on. Again, Teresa has drawn some of these in, so I'll just follow her pattern. Same with the apple. This is also why I have a thing, I don't like artists to draw in a highlight, because where they imagine a light source may not be where I want to put the light source. So I really don't like it when illustrators do put a highlight on things. Like, it limits my lighting options if I'm doing proper lighting. So we're just going to dot a couple on the orange and the lemon. And one more in here. And then we've got the pot. I don't know if these are actually highlights or just marks on the pot, but we're going to do them as highlights. It's fun. Alright, while that dries, somewhere in here I have a mint, like a dark mint teal colour. There you are. Called Aqua Green. And I think from memory, yeah, it's a bit darker than the mint of the curtains, so that's going to work well for our polka dots. And then need a little bit of yellow. Where's ivory? I love ivory. Let's pull out ivory. So this is where you could go like really nuts and spend ages just playing around with paint pens to add in details. Just make sure you give them all a moment to dry before your hands go over everything and you smudge it everywhere. I've done that so many times. This is the aqua green. Just going to go over all those little polka dots. Give it enough of a shape before I started using it. Kind of a big no-no. I think I bumped my camera right back before, didn't I? Maybe I knocked the camera head. I don't know. That's okay. We'll figure it out. One thing I'm learning is that my lights aren't exactly the best for at night time. So I need to get some additional lighting in here. And I do have some more lights. They're just all in the pack stuff right now. And I don't have room on my desk for the lights. I do have more power plugs though, so I can plug in more things. I do have the ability. I just need to find the lights, clear the desk, then put the lights in place. But we are getting there. Goal tomorrow is to take all the empty boxes out of here. I've been meaning to do it for a couple of days. I just haven't really had the energy or anywhere to put them. But we have our recycling going out tomorrow. And I know our recycling bin's not quite full, so I'm going to see if I break them down how many I can get out. Okay, there's one curtain. And we'll do the same on the other side. Actually, I should start up here, or rather down here, and work my way across. So work my way down. Then I'm less likely to smudge it. Ugh, polka dots. Almost there though. No, I do prefer it with the polka dots being less subtle. Okay. Give the pen a good shake up. I have here the Sunshine Yellow Posca. And so on our dill plant, where we have those yellow ends, I'm just going to dot this over just to clean up those edges a bit. Like I said when we were colouring it, it doesn't matter too much if we go over, and this is why. We're just going to randomly dot in place. And immediately it looks more like flower heads now, rather than just random zigzags. And then with the yellow, well, I got it out. I'm going to do the same thing on this plant down here. Just create a couple of highlight dots. So if anything's too dark or you're not happy with it, this is how you can go back in and lighten it. Let's add some dots in with a Posca. That'll also help give us the contrast. Oh, alright, I have ivory now. So I'm going to use the ivory to go over this picture here. It's not going to fully cover it up, but it's okay because this ivory is actually a base layer for part 2. Cool. Alright, just let that to dry and then we'll come back to that. The ivory is slightly translucent, so it works quite well because it will pick up the undertones that change, so you'll get a little bit of shading through it. Right, then on our pink flower, I'm just going to do the centers of the flowers. Might be some extra random dots in there, but that's okay. You can literally go nuts on it. You can just spend hours adding in bits and pieces that you want to. A little bit of purple. So you just kind of got to know when to say stop, which sometimes I struggle with because I like adding lots and lots of stuff. Pale pink. Again, just doing little clusters of dots in the center. And then the last thing, I just realized I was shuffling through my pens right in front of the mic. That was really silly of me. I'm so sorry. The sound is probably atrocious there. Let's see if I can balance it. So now we're going to use our gold to do our pot details. And because we did that first layer of ivory, it's actually going to go on much more intensely and be much easier to see. So that is why I did a layer of ivory first. It also helps a lot because my gold is very much running out. I really do need to get another gold Posca. Come on, I just need you to push through. If it runs out, I'll grab a gel pen, which I think I might have to do anyway because it really is just barely trickling through. I just try to avoid the gel pen because the gel pen likes to spread everywhere, but it is barely coming through. So, let's grab gel pens if I can remember where I've put them. Some pens, not gel pens. Multiple gold gel pens. You think I should be able to find them straight away. Aha. Found them. Yeah, with the amount of gel pens I have, you'd think I could find them. Everything's in weird places at the moment because of the move. There we go. Now we've got a little bit of shine since I could add glitter to the center. But with adding glitter, because these are water-based markers and glitter, it's usually in a gel or a glue, it's going to make it go a bit splotchy. So better to use a bit of gold metallic gel pen and just have a little touch of sparkle. But there we go. There is the finished page. I really like how this turned out, and I hope you do too. And the entire thing has been done in water-soluble markers with little touches of Posca and gel pen at the end there. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how that's turned out. It is lovely and bright and makes me want to start a herb garden. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video and have enjoyed seeing the process. Hopefully you've watched all the parts. Let me know if you have. And if you've enjoyed it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed already, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe. And just thank you for being here and watching. And thank you for being you. Appreciate you so much. So much aroha to you all. Take care of yourself. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.